Good afternoon, everyone. I am Hilda Ismail, and welcome to the second episode of Gen Z at Podium 2023. I am honored to be your MC for this important discussion on laws to legalize cannabis for medical use. And before we dive into the discussion, let's take a moment to understand the significance of this conversation. The legalization of cannabis has been a hotly debated issue around the world, and many countries and states have already taken steps towards decriminalizing or legalizing the use of marijuana for medicinal purposes. So today we aim to explore the pros and cons and overall impact of cannabis legalization. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Gen Z at the Podium 2023 is organized by Kini Events, with a great support from our partners, which are our collaborative partner, International Republican Institute, official airline partner, My Airline, supporting partner, Ministry of Youth and Sports, soft skills training partner, Malaysian Institute of Debate and Public Speaking, MIDP, metaverse partner, Experiential Design Team, EDT, co-partners, Undi 18, Undi Sabah, the Risers Institute for Research and Development of Policy, IRDP, and MYADP, the Malaysian Hub, Majlis Belia Malaysia, MBM, Persatuan Kebangsaan Pelajar Islam Malaysia, PKPIM, IIUM Student Union, Gabungan Pelajar-Pelajar Melayu Semenanjung, GPMS, Kesatuan Mahasiswa Universiti Malaya, Angkatan Mahasiswa UM, Suara Siswi Universiti Malaya, Taylor's University Student Council, along with our media partners for this session, Kini TV, Chili Sauce Media, Astro Awani, and SAYS. Let's give them a round of applause. Press C. We would like to emphasize here that the discussion today is solely for knowledge purposes and to encourage the youth to voice out their respective opinions. So do take note that all the statements and suggestions from the debaters do not represent the stand of the organizers or any institution. For your information, today's debaters are a total of 20 people aged between 18 and 25 from all over Malaysia. Before the event begins, I would like to make a few announcements. This event will be conducted in English. Each debater will be given 3 minutes to present his and her problem statement and suggestions. A digital timer will be displayed on the screen during the presentation. The audience can vote statements and popular debaters on the website. The link is mk.my/undigenz. So at the end of today's session, we will also select and announce the best debater. And for that, I would also like to introduce the panel of judges who will be judging and selecting the debater today. And they are Mr. Hanif bin Abdullah, Senior Program Consultant, International Republican Institute, IRI, Malaysia. Mr. Mun Hong Fong, Senior Consultant, International Republican Institute, IRI, Malaysia. Ms. Chia Ting Ting, Chief Commercial Officer, Malaysia Kini Group. And Ms. Diana Rose Roberts, Events Producer, Kini Events. Thank you for your time to our panel judges. Ladies and gentlemen, with this, the Gen Z at the Podium 2023 will start now. A total of 9 debaters will be presenting their statements, representing Team A and of course Team B. Team A debaters. Here you go. Muhammad bin Basri, Matthew Phua Thai Kit, Nick Sarah binti Nick Muhammad Faris, Gautam anak lelaki Manny Maran, Wan Nur Husna binti Wan Aziman, Muhammad Faiz Darwish bin Faris, Fattah Aswadi bin Nasri, Nur Najma binti Idris Shazali, and Shamin Azogan. Meanwhile, a total of 9 debaters will be presenting their statements. Representing the opposition team, Team B, Amir Hazim bin Muhammad Zaki, Nurul Husna Zulfa binti Muhammad Tarmizi, Daniel Iskandar bin Nur Azrin, An-Nur Ufaira Jannah Abdullah, Nur Alia Kristina binti Abdul Razak, Damon Goh Yiyang, Arisa binti Hanafi, Amalia Aisyah, and Tika Weng. Ladies and gentlemen, not only them, we are also joined by our politicians of today to also share some of their views with regards to medical cannabis. And they are Yang Berhormat Dr. Kelvin Yee Lee Wen, MP for Bandar Kuching, Yang Berhormat Wong Shu Ki, MP for Kluang. I would like to kindly remind the debaters, please follow the rules and etiquette during debate that have been presented during the previous briefing session. Well, now next, I invite Mr. Muhammad Ika Daniel, Assistant Director, Institute of Diplomacy Foreign Relations, IDFR, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to chair this debate. Ika, the stage is yours. Silakan.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Shilda Ismail, and good day to all the debaters. Nelson Mandela once said, "The youth of today are the leaders of tomorrow," and that is the very spirit that has driven to the realization of GenZ the Podium program. Dear audience and dear debaters, I am Ika Daniel from Institute of Diplomacy and Foreign Relations, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Malaysia, and I am privileged to be invited as the chair of the debate today, which brings the topic of laws to legalize cannabis for medical use in Malaysia. Dear audience and debaters, before starting this debate event, I would like to give a little explanation and introduction about today's debate topic. The motion for today's topic is this House would legalize cannabis for medical use in Malaysia. The debaters, a growing number of nations are waving the green flag on medical cannabis. To name a few, countries such as Australia, Canada, Norway, Turkey, Switzerland and Greece have legalized cannabis for medical use, as well as a small handful of others that allow medical marijuana use within very strict guidelines, such as in the form of cannabis-derived pharmaceuticals. It is not only proven to have medical benefits, but it also could create economic opportunities and impacts for the country. Therefore, the focus of the debate today is to discuss whether is it necessary to legalize cannabis for medical use in Malaysia, especially in terms of medical rights, principles and feasibility, and what will be the impact of legalizing cannabis in the country and also to the society. For this very reason, we are having with us today 10 key speakers from Team A and also Team B who are going to give their points of views, perspectives, as well as honest opinion with regards to this issue. So the debaters, the floor is now open, and I would like to respectfully invite the first debater of the day from Team A, representing the government side, Mr. Matthew Phua, to represent your statement for 3 minutes. Please welcome Matthew.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm from Team A and I support legalizing cannabis for medical use. I will be discussing the possible uses of cannabis in psychotherapy and mental wellness. First and foremost, cannabis has shown promise in reducing symptoms of anxiety and stress. A review published in the Journal of Neurotherapeutics titled Cannabidiol and as a potential treatment for anxiety disorders highlighted the potential of cannabidiol or CBD in reducing anxiety symptoms in various anxiety disorders, including generalized anxiety disorder and social anxiety disorder. Cannabis may provide the much needed relief to individuals burdened by these conditions, allowing them to lead healthier lives. Secondly, cannabis has demonstrated potential as a sleep aid. Cannabis with its sedative properties improved sleep parameters in individuals with insomnia, including reduced sleep latency and increased total sleep time. This has been studied and published in the Journal of Clinical Psychology. Another study published in the Frontiers of Pharmacology in 2018 also showed the same thing. Cannabis can be an alternative to conventional sleep aids. Thirdly, cannabis can be used to treat post-traumatic stress disorders or PTSD and trauma. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Psychopharmacology in 2014 found that individuals with PTSD who used cannabis experienced a reduction in symptom severity and frequency. CBD in cannabis can regulate fear responses and reduce the intensity of traumatic memories. Fourthly, cannabis has the potential to enhance psychotherapy. In a qualitative study published in the Journal of Psychoactive Drugs in 2018, participants reported that cannabis facilitated self-reflection, emotional processing, and deepened the therapeutic relationship. This approach, when properly administered, may lead to breakthroughs and improved mental well-being. In conclusion, the studies mentioned just now provide robust evidence supporting the potential health benefits of cannabis in mental health and psychotherapy, from anxiety and stress reduction to PTSD treatment and enhancing the psychotherapeutic process. We have an opportunity to improve the well-being of countless individuals. And hence, I strongly agree to the motion to legalize cannabis for medical use. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Matthew, for the inspiring statement presentation. Mr. Matthew is in support for this motion by stating that legalizing cannabis for medical use is beneficial to a patient's mental health and psychology. We have listened from the first debater from Team A, representing the government side, and now I would like to respectfully invite the first debater from Team B, representing the opposition side, Ms. Arissa binti Hanafi, to present your statement in 3 minutes. Please welcome Arissa.
Moderator. So when discussing the topic of medical cannabis, an important thing to consider is what it can contribute to the medical field. So cannabis is primarily used to reduce nausea, relax muscles, and for pain relief. So to sum it up, cannabis is used as a painkiller. However, we need to consider the fact that painkillers already exist in the current world and they are known as analgesics. So in my argument, I'm going to compare the current existing analgesics and the cannabis and highlight why analgesics render cannabis irrelevant when it comes to medical usage. So first of all, what are the differences between the two? Analgesics, unlike cannabis, are well developed and supported by medical professionals worldwide. So we have knowledge about the appropriate dose, the side effects, and interactions with other drugs. So the risk level is very minimal. Even stronger analgesics like opioids are considered low risk due to their advanced development, while mild ones like Panadol are widely recognized and generally considered as very safe. So on the other hand, let's take a look at cannabis. Even with all its good pain-killing properties and other benefits, we still don't know much about it. It's very underdeveloped and it lacks proper regulation that professionals can agree on, including appropriate dosage, age restrictions, and interactions with prescription drugs and specific diseases. So not only that, but as we know, medical marijuana has various harmful side effects that we don't know how to properly counter yet, such as inducing anxiety and causing memory problems. So the lack of information surrounding cannabis, it raises significant uncertainties, right? So research is clearly very crucial in the conversation of whether we should start using cannabis in the medical field or not. However, research is currently very limited, and the few research that do exist on cannabis usage are still mostly inconclusive or contradictory. At first, the solution seems very simple, right? Just research and develop medical marijuana then. The issue with that, however, is that researching medical marijuana would require funding and manpower. So where exactly do we expect to get this funding from? Since it would be the government's responsibility to research it before enacting these laws, the funding would come from the government and, in other words, the taxpayers. So some Malaysians will be unhappy to know that their hard-earned money is being used to fund marijuana research, as a lot of them have negative perceptions of marijuana due to personal beliefs and religious beliefs. And this dissatisfaction that they already have because of their conservative beliefs is further amplified when this money could have been invested instead in improving the current healthcare system, which faces issues like understaffing and lack of quality equipment. Malaysia is better off utilizing the existing and safe analgesics that are already approved and investing in healthcare improvements instead of allocating these resources to marijuana research, especially considering the fact that the marijuana's medical properties are not particularly new or revolutionary when talking about the medical field. At the end of the day, let us ponder on this. What is the rationale of legalizing medical marijuana use in Malaysia, considering how much work would be needed to put into it? Are we acting in the best interest of our nation, or are we just trying to keep up with the other big countries and have a progressive facade? Until then, we need to focus on what is best for our country, because that is the responsibility of the government. And with that, I proudly oppose the motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Arisa. Arisa is opposing the motion that was brought today, saying that instead of using resources to research medical opioid use, the society would benefit more from bettering the current national healthcare system. A friend reminder to Ms. Arisa that your voice a bit breaking in the first half of your answer. Perhaps you want to do something before the Q&A session. All right, the debaters, now I would like to invite the second debater from Team A, representing the government side, Mr. Muhammad Faiz Darwish bin Faris, to present your statement in 3 minutes. Please welcome Faiz.
Thank you to the moderator. For today, ladies and gentlemen, we have gathered here today to discuss very important issues. Malaysia's decision to legalize cannabis for medical purposes. I sincerely believe that the plan to legalize medical cannabis is a step in the right direction. Despite the fact that it may cause some people to express skepticism, I would like to share with you a number of important arguments in support of this belief. So my problem statement today is chemically lab medicine used in treatment cannot guarantee the patient's cures, especially in diseases related to nervous system. By using cannabis as an alternative medicine, dosage of chemical medicine can be reduced and chances of patients can be cured to be higher. Members of the floor, back in Nevada, United States, we have researchers named Hugh Hempel. Mr. Hugh Hempel is researchers that had daughters. His daughters actually suffer from Niemann-Pick type C disease, or commonly known as childhood Alzheimer, and actually need to inject cyclodextrin into their spinal so that they can be cured, or actually can ease their suffering and pain. But Mr. Hugh Hempel actually found the solution using the cannabis. Just imagine, by we illegal the cannabis, we give the option to the father to choose between the jail or between the love of his daughter. Firstly, the medical benefits of cannabis cannot actually be ignored. Countless studies and a lot of evidence from around the world have demonstrated the potential therapeutic value of cannabis in elevating symptoms and improving the quality of life for patients suffering from various medical conditions. Conditions such as chronic pain, epilepsy, multiple sclerosis, and chemotherapy-induced nausea are just a few examples of ailments where cannabis has actually shown promising results. So by legalizing medical cannabis, we provide a viable option for patients who have exhausted conventional treatments or have found them ineffective. Secondly, legalizing medical cannabis in Malaysia actually will allow us to tap into rapidly growing industry. It's like a knock on the door opportunity for us. The global cannabis market is actually booming. Just imagine if we get hands on the cannabis, the doctors, the scientists can actually make the researchers of the cannabis, can produce a lot of medicine that can actually help a lot of patients who go in therapy. And by embracing this industry, we can unlock tremendous economic opportunities for our country. This will result in job creation, reducing unemployment, attracting investment even outside the country, the foreign country, and boosting the overall economy. We have seen how other countries like Thailand, like Australia have successfully capitalized on this emerging sector. And it is time for Malaysia to seize this opportunity and position itself as a leader in this field. In conclusion, legalization of cannabis for medical use in Malaysia is a progressive step that can actually have far-reaching benefits. It will provide relief for patients, boost our economy, and actually address the inherent issues associated with illicit market. Let us approach this matter with an open-minded and considering the scientific evidence, by doing so, we can actually pave the way for a compassionate, forward-thinking healthcare system that embraces the alternative treatments and puts the patient first. That's all from the government side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Faiz, for your frank take in this particular issue. So basically, Faiz is in support of this motion of legalizing cannabis in Malaysia by saying that legalizing cannabis in Malaysia could give more impacts, good benefits to the psychological development of the patients as well as to boost the economic developments in the country. So dear audience, we will continue this debate session by inviting the second debater from Team B, representing the opposition side, Mr. Amir Hazi Muhammad Zaki, to present your statement in 3 minutes. Please welcome Amir.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I am Amir Hazim from Team B. As the opposition, I would like to reiterate the opposition stance, which is to disagree with the motion of the House in regards to legalizing the usage of medical cannabis in Malaysia. My argument is prominently based on the cogent reason that irregularities in the regulatory framework for medical cannabis usage may cause chaos. This would be further supported via three-pronged contentions. Firstly, the implementation or rather the move for legalization of medical cannabis may not lead to positive results. In terms of the legalization itself, in reference to the studies made in the University of California, the legal framework of medical cannabis usage can be said to be prematurely done or made out of a sudden. This has resulted in undesirable effects that have caused major problems to the public. Hence, it is noteworthy that a thorough discussion with stakeholders shall be made before a drastic move can be taken in legalizing medical cannabis. As of now, it is still too early to enact legislation that permits the usage of medical cannabis, as there are no stellar or splendid references that can be observed in guiding our nation to produce a stellar framework for it. To prevent any adverse implications that may arise in the future, it must be borne in mind that probably legalizing medical cannabis would not be a good idea at the moment. Secondly, medical cannabis may lead to addiction in long-term use. Despite it may be contended that cannabis has a medical benefit or usage, it may still lead to severe consequences. A similar analogy would be opium, which is used to produce heroin, a depressant drug. Even if it has medical benefits, it does not exonerate the fact that it may cause bad effects such as impaired judgments. The same could be said for cannabis, as it can cause addiction as well as other medical complications, namely anxiety and panic attacks, which is affirmed in the studies that have been conducted by the Missouri Medical Association. If this persists, then there will be an exponential growth of unhealthy generation due to the suffering of addiction, which would impede the social security of the country at large. Thirdly, medical cannabis may lead to the further development of the black market or smuggling activities. It needs to be reminded that the framework that is to be made in the future in respect of the medical cannabis usage also requires or rather needs to encompass how it shall take place. By virtue of a joint study performed by the University of Colorado, Johns Hopkins University, and Harvard Medical School, it lays down that legalization of medical cannabis has heightened cases of persistent black market dealings, which have caused the emergence of various dark cartels. As such, it is imperative and vital to note to have an efficient mechanism for the sale of cannabis to ensure that illegal dealings do not take place or even spread extensively, which could jeopardize the economic sector or income of the country. In essence, as Confucius has quoted, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but the first step needs to be the right step. Pursuant to that, I would like to emphasize that the inadequacy or even absence of a proper and comprehensive framework in respect of the utilization of medical cannabis could deter the welfare of the citizens wholly. I rest my case and thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Amir Hazi Muhammad Zaki, for the very spiritful and lively presentation just now. I believe we all hearing this debate will feel like we are hearing a trial in the court. So Mr. Faiz from the opposition side is totally opposing the motions today, emphasizing that a holistic plan needs to be structured in order to curb the loopholes that may be present in the disputes concerning the usage of medical cannabis from the eyes of laws, economy, and social issue. So now we would like to continue this debate by inviting the third debater from Team A, that is from the government side, Ms. Nur Najma binti Idris Shazali, to present your statement in 3 minutes. Please welcome Najma. But unfortunately, perhaps Ms. Najma is having a little bit problem in terms of the technical, so she's not in her seat. So I'll proceed with the third debater from the government side, Team A, Mr. Muhammad bin Basri. Please welcome Mr. Muhammad to present your statement in 2 minutes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So, based on the motion today, law to legalize cannabis for medical use in Malaysia, I strongly 100% agree with this motion. I will give you three reasons on why I agree with these issues. Number one, because the benefit of cannabis for medicine itself is proven by a lot of experts, a lot of doctors in Malaysia. For example, there are a lot. For example, we have Dr. Kamal Azman, public health expert and CEO in Meldini Hospital. He says that cannabis can cure so many diseases. For example, like Parkinson diseases, when people have problem with their speech movement, when we give cannabis that contain THC and CBD, it can actually help them walk, speak, move more easily. And you know, if the opposite want to play narrative like there is uncertainty proof. Now I bring you proof from WHO. World Health Organization already recognized the use of cannabis for medical purposes, and they recommend us. They recommend us to use cannabis for medical purposes. So we used to say that WHO is our guideline, but when it comes to the issue, we ignore WHO. The question is why is that? That's number one. Number two, because the punishment. As we all know, in 2015, there are very famous issue where someone used oil cannabis to help his patient, a cancer, a problem, diseases with oil cannabis, and he got arrested. And when police got him to arrest him, and he nearly, I repeat, he nearly got death penalty. The question to the opposite, why we want to punish this kind of people who have a good intention to only help people? If you do research about him, his customer asking him, force him to do that, and he doesn't want to do, but his customer force and begging to him to do that. And that is number two, because the punishment. Number three, because this is international trend. There are a lot of other countries already did it. So we have the opportunity to learn from them, get a good thing, remove the bad things. Yes, I don't deny that some country that does not succeed when it comes to this thing, but as I said, we take a good thing and we remove the bad things. And this issue, and my number 3 points, in this issue, I just want our country to be left behind. As we all know, as our researcher complain, there are so many our researcher in Malaysia complain that they are getting so difficult when it comes to do research about cannabis. For example, I just watched an interview or conversation Prof. Madya Dr. Rusdi. He is a researcher in Malaysia. He he begging to the government to make them to not difficult them when it comes to do a research, because they need to face a bureaucracy, they need to face a lot of things to do research. So I just want our country to be left behind. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not for, I'm not talking about economic benefit yet. I'm not talking about benefit for certain group of people yet. I'm just talking about for people who need cannabis to cure their diseases. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad Basri from Team A for your statement just now. So basically, Mr. Muhammad Basri is in support of this motion of legalizing cannabis in Malaysia, highlighting that implementing punishments like the death penalty just for taking cannabis for medical usage is totally unjust. So now I would like to proceed this debate by inviting the third debater from Team B, Ms. Adlia Christina, to present your statement in 3 minutes. Please welcome Adlia Christina representing the opposition.
So as a mental health advocate, it's undeniable that having cannabis legalized definitely brings a lot of benefits to the patients. But however, as someone from an opposition, I do have some concerns that I would like to address that comes with legalizing medical marijuana. So first of all, if we were to legalize this medical cannabis, we do have to consider that it could lead to the increase of conventional drug abuse cases in Malaysia. So why do I say that? It's because, as we all know, Malaysia borders around the Golden Triangle, whereby it is a strategic location for us to, which makes our location a prime target for a suitable transit point for drug distribution. So, because of that, maybe we should consider the possibility of that it could lead to the increase of social problem due to addiction, and also we should consider that it could somehow make Malaysia to be involved in the trading of the black market still, and in the imposed abolishment of the mandatory death penalty. It gives the advantage to the drug lords, the advantage of this leniency given by the law for somehow to make a great deal of business from drug trafficking and drug abuse problem. And as we know, when we do have this issue of drug trafficking and drug smuggling, there we do have an increase of the having number of people who are involved in being a drug mule. And those who are being a drug mule are probably those who are targeted to be done are those who comes from the vulnerable group, who comes from poor background. And so this somehow increases the probability for drug smuggling to happen in Malaysia. And as you can see, it's stuff like in Russia, even though cannabis is not legalized just yet, but then it has a very strong influence on the operation of the black market from within the country itself. And so we do not want that to happen in Malaysia, given that we need to have a strategic location and so on. And so that which is why we have to consider before we truly legalize medical marijuana, are we truly ready for that? Do we actually have a comprehensive policy to curb this concern as I mentioned above? And because as you can see also in Malaysia, we still do have some drug trafficking cases in Kelantan, but then even with the current law, it does not help us to prevent drug trafficking cases in Malaysia. And so, which is why I would like to question again: is it really the right time to actually legalize medical marijuana for medical purpose? Because we have to really consider what we have, the cost, the downside, the cost and effect of it. And so I propose that we should actually look towards strengthening, look towards having our research center by widening more job opportunities for more young scientists in Malaysia. Because as you can see, we have very less research center in Malaysia, and we are dependent on foreign resources on getting more medical inputs, medical insights, and by having more job opportunities in Malaysia for this research center, it helps more graduates from biomedical sciences, from neurosciences to get more job as well. And so as a whole, it somehow could also improve the healthcare system and by reducing the treatment costs in Malaysia, because we do have our own independent research center that is a lot for us. And then next, also, I believe that we should actually spread some awareness among teenagers about this drug trafficking issue in Malaysia, because by spreading awareness through the platform, also through our social media platforms such as TikTok, Instagram, and going on campaign.
Miss Alia, please be reminded that your time is out.
So with that, without a proper mechanism to address this concern, are we really ready to take a step forward? And so I really hope that we should consider to do this before we legalize medical marijuana. So that's all from me. With that, I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Alia Christina from the opposition side, Team B, who is opposing this motion of legalizing cannabis in Malaysia by saying that it's not wrong to trust the data and scientific evidence that promotes the good of cannabis or opiate, but we should always take a step back and hone our strength at our own pace before it's done, which includes proper mechanisms and regulations. Before we continue our debate today, dear debaters, this is a friendly reminder as I observe that 2-3 debaters before this have go beyond the time limitation that is 3 minutes. So whatever points explained or stated after the 3 minutes time will not be counted in your assessment. So please be reminded that you should obliged by the time limitation given by the organizer. All right? Okay, dear debaters, we would like to proceed with this debate session by inviting the fourth debater from Team A representing the government side, Ms. Nick Muhammad Faris, to present your statement in 3 minutes. Please welcome Sarah.
Hello, good afternoon to the respected adjudicators, opposition team and my government team. The main theme we are discussing today is about the legalization of cannabis medically. I'll be explaining the part where implementation of cannabis is indeed impossible with the exercise of strict legislation. Now, the opportunity to strengthen the economy can only be met by the exercise of solid regulations of both farmers and government side, while we also determine the secure location of these cannabis farms. And with this condition, the country is able to build a reliable and also a controlled image of cannabis implementation that will be supported by citizens like us. The implementation of cannabis medically will undeniably open up business opportunities as production, commercialization, and distribution all generates income for its investors, suppliers, and even its farmers. However, if we're going to be legalizing cannabis for medical uses, we're going to be needing some solid and structured regulations in order to make this work. Therefore, in my opinion, from the government side, the government should set policies for these farmers to be equipped with not only wired but also electrified fences and recruit patrol units to supervise the perimeter in case of any intruding or foxes just running around. And the farmers are also to be subjected with high and suitable salaries from the government to avoid these farmers from being persuaded by these barters or deals from the outsiders. And from the farmer's side, the farmers also play a role in this legislation. From the farmer's side, they are to abide with all the rules that is established by the government. And if by any chance the farmer is caught illegally either consuming or distributing the drug, they are to be subjected to heavy punishment or totally just stripped of their license to own this cannabis plantation. And I think that this rule should also be applied to its distributors and commercializers. So, as we can see, under strict legislation, only then are we able to build a strong and controlled image that cannabis are indeed safe to be consumed medically, and such worries of abuse is not possible under such legislation established. And that I solemnly believe that the application of cannabis medically will birth opportunities to strengthen our economy with this exercise of solid regulations. So both the farmers and government side can also work together to either determine the secure locations of cannabis, those farms, and also to implement and to exercise these legislations. Because if you think about it, it kind of helps in our local market, and if we can also expand it to international markets. The channel can also reap foreign investors or international buyers. And with that, I rest my case.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sarah, for abiding by the time. So, Nick Sarah from the government side, Team A, is in support of this motion by stating that usage of cannabis in the medical field can help to boost and strengthen the economy of the country. In this case, is Malaysia. So now, I would like to invite the fourth debater from Team B, representing the opposition, Mr. Damon Goh, to present your statement in 3 minutes. Please welcome Damon.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Rome was not built in one day, so as Malaysian considering the legalization of cannabis for medical use. Good day, everyone. I'm Damon from Team B, and I beg to oppose the debate motion. Let me set this straight. I acknowledge that cannabis do have some therapeutic potential, but its legalization removes all the barricades for the general population to purchase and use cannabis at their own will, and this creates a plenitude of problems for our social, medical, and economic aspects. In my speech today, I'll present to you the alternative solution, which is decriminalization, and convince you that this is better than legalizing cannabis. By decriminalizing medical cannabis, its sales and manufacturing is still illegal, but we can allow a highly regulated, narrow orifice for cannabis used in medical research and treating patients with conditions untreatable by existing regimes. Ladies and gentlemen, my first argument is that there is insufficient evidence to support the general use of cannabis in medicine. This is evidenced by the recent comprehensive review of medical cannabinoid products by the International Association for the Study of Pain, the University of Sydney and New South Wales, which concluded that existing evidence for benefits of cannabinoid products are insufficient and mostly come from low-quality research. Legalizing medical cannabis without sufficient evidence subjects our patients and lab rats in our experiments to study the benefits of medical cannabis and expose them to harmful effects of certain cannabinoids such as sleep disorders, cannabis-induced psychosis, and etc. Decriminalization allows us time to conduct thorough study about the therapeutic potential and mechanism of medical cannabis legalization in countries known for their successful implementation, such as Canada and Australia. The recently viral news of a 2-year-old toddler from Perak, Pahang, diagnosed with nicotine poisoning just a month after nicotine was delisted from the poisons list teaches a lesson that any point to legalize a potentially harmful substance done without implementing any effective regulation and enforcement of the law, more Malaysians are prone to the complications of cannabis abuse. Thus, I beg all of us here to reject its legalization. My second point is that legalizing medical cannabis can harm our existing medical tourism industry. For information, according to the Malaysian Healthcare Travel Council, medical tourism brings in 1.7 billion of revenue in 2019 with a projected growth to 2 billion in 2025. This excludes revenues from other packaged industries such as sightseeing and guiding services, shuttling services, retail services, etc. This rapidly growing industry contributes to our nation's development as well as creating more job opportunities for Malaysians. Legalizing medical cannabis can create a false impression among Malaysians that its use is safe and normal. A study by the Chulalongkorn University of Thailand showed the negative perception of Thailand as a travel destination after its legalization of cannabis use. Therefore, we should be extra cautious in considering a law which might turn our medical tourism fame for its world-class quality and competitive affordability into one tainted by negative news of widespread cannabis abuse. Decriminalization will allow us to better regulate cannabis use exclusively for medical purpose, which in turn will boost our medical tourism industry and benefit more Malaysians in the long run. Ladies and gentlemen, with all this said, I'm confident that you are now convinced that we should not legalize medical cannabis for now, as it protects our patients from the risk of negative health outcomes, as well as safeguarding our prospering medical tourism industry. We can, with the money and resources saved from the criminal justice system, we can invest in reducing social stigma and improving better intervention programs if there is abuse. With that, I rest my case. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Demango from the opposition side, Team B, for a very lively presentation of statement just now. But perhaps, Damon, a friendly reminder during the Q&A session, one word at a time. So it is easier for the judges to assess you as well. All right. Okay, so Mr. Damon from the opposition, Team B, is in oppose with this motion with his interesting point of view by saying that don't legalize cannabis in Malaysia, but instead don't decriminalize cannabis for medical use. And he also said that legalization allows the general population to purchase and use cannabis at their own will, while this decriminalization allows better regulation of the noble purpose of using medical cannabis to reduce patients' suffering. So now we have skipped one debater just now, Ms. Nur Najma Idris. So to be fair, as the Speaker of the House, I would like to invite Ms. Nur Najma Idris from the government side, Team A, to present your statement in 3 minutes. Please welcome Najma. Ms. Najma, perhaps you can unmute yourself. All right, it's okay. While waiting Najma to sort this technical issue, perhaps our format of debate today will be a bit interesting because after Devon go, I would like to invite the final debater from the opposition side, Team B. And after that, perhaps we can try Najma one more time to conclude from the government side. So now I would like to invite the fifth and last debater from Team B, from the opposition side, who happen to have the same name with me, Daniel. Mr. Daniel Iskandar Benur Azrin, to present your statement in 3 minutes. Please welcome my brother, Daniel.
Thank you, Speaker. And ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to be presenting in front of everyone today. So, legalization of cannabis for medical uses in Malaysia. Let me point out that Malaysia is a growing country and our people are still very young. We must better prepare them before we do something as drastic as legalizing a controlled substance such as cannabis. Our legislation, Dangerous Drugs Act 1952, Act 234, literally actually states cannabis as one of the drugs that you cannot possess within our country, and for good reason. According to the WHO, the World Health Organization, while it is worthy to note the medical benefits of cannabis, we must also note the downfalls and the prolonged side effects, such as impairment of cognitive function, and prolonged use may cause learning disorders and even more anxiety, even exacerbate schizophrenia, which are the cures that which are the things that it's supposed to cure, ironically speaking. Ladies and gentlemen, the existing drug laws that we already have are already heavily violated. According to the New Straits Times, last year alone, we have faced almost 30,000 cases of drug abuse and drug possession and illegal drug possession. Let me remind you that possession in our country carries a death penalty. If people are not afraid to possess these illegally and they are willing to face death, look death right in the eye and still go on with acquiring cannabis, what will happen if we allow them to do it freely? Think of that for a second. On top of that, to legalize cannabis, our parliament, our lawmakers, the executive body, the legislative body of our country has to impose specific legislation in order to control this substance in our country, to control this substance from falling into the wrong hands, which it inevitably will because we are still allowing it on our streets. Like, what dosages are considered legal? Who can possess these? Where can you get them? How much can you bring in? How much can you possess? Can you buy? How much can you really acquire on a single purchase? How much is technically required for your dose? How do I identify which of you guys are actually requiring these things? There are so many aspects to allowing this drug in our country that is just a downfall. That is going to sidetrack our legal system so far. And finally, while cannabis is a powerful substance to have in our country, let me remind everybody of the existing alternative substances with an equal effect, like rosemary, black pepper, and cloves that are curing the same things that opioids do, but with no side effects such as addiction. Ladies and gentlemen, still waters runs deep, meaning that while it is very, very very appealing for us to keep track and to keep up with the rest of the world, there is much more lying underneath the water than we are realizing if we move forward with this. With that, I rest my case that this motion should not pass. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel Iskandar Nur Azrin from Team B, representing the opposition side. So generally, Daniel Iskandar is in oppose of this motion by saying that if we legalize cannabis in Malaysia, it's like asking the nation to run before walking, because Malaysia is a growing country and our people are still young, so we must better prepare ourselves before we want to proceed with this motion in order not to disturb the harmony we spent half of the century in the nation-state building. So now, as a Speaker of the House, I have the prerogative of using this privilege, and then I would like to invite for the very final last time, for the third time, to invite the speaker that we have skipped before, Ms. Najma Idris, to present your statement in 3 minutes. Please welcome Najma. I hope everything is fine this time. All right. I think we could not done anything about this. This is going to be an interesting debate session because we skip one debater from the government side. But it is okay, please, the government side from Team A, rest assured that you need to convince the judges by giving your full participation and active participation in the Q&A session later. I hope so. So now, the debaters, we are privileged and grateful today because we are having with us not only the spiritful and lively youth debater in this house, but we also have two political figures representing the lawmakers, representing the legislative body of Malaysia, to share their insights and also their opinion, their point of view, their perspective with regards to this motion, the legalization of cannabis in Malaysia. So first and foremost, I would like to invite the first politician for today, starting with Yang Berhormat Puan Wong Shu Chi, Member of Parliament for Kluang Johor, my hometown, to share your statement. Please welcome YB Wong.
Thank you. Thank you, Ika Daniel. I will speak very short. Personally, I support to the legalization of medical use of cannabis. However, I do stress that we need to be very careful on the regulation and legalization, just to avoid it from being abused. But at the same time, I need to remind everyone here that we acknowledge cannabis is useful in handling certain disease. So, but then also it comes with certain side effects. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So we need to aware that all medicine comes with certain side effects, which is why we call medicine as drugstore. So some are addictive, some are not. Same goes with cannabis, marijuana, and you call it, you name it. So, and one important point is legalization doesn't mean no regulation. Legalization does not mean 100% freedom to use and you can freely do whatever thing. It is exactly the opposite. Legalization means regulation. Make cannabis illegal is even for medical use means that potential users, those who need to access to the drugs, they have no other way but can only resort to illegal and unregulated way to access the substance. So I'm for legalizing it, regulating it with a very defining law just for medical use for the time being in Malaysia. But of course, we have a very long way to go. I have to admit that, because it means for my generation, we have been, I wouldn't say brainwashed, but we have been educated and educated by the last generation, baby boomer or whatsoever. Their generation educated us that all these addictive substances are very dangerous. So even possess of a 20 cents weight of the substance can bring us death penalty. It educates us as in all these things are rubbish, are harmful, are no use. But actually, we know that there are some report and some research have already proven that, okay, they are useful in certain way. But of course, we need to regulate it. As I say, all medicine are drugs. They are all drugs, and we need to regulate it. And overdose in any kind of medicine is harmful to our body, to our health. So the same thing, likewise, goes to cannabis. So personally, I'm for it. But of course, do remember, legalization doesn't mean no regulation. It is exactly the opposite. Legalization means regulating it. So we need to clearly define what we wanted here in Malaysia. That's what I want to share with you today, and I'm very happy I'm being invited here because it's so fun in this room with you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lady Chuang Wong Suci, Member of Parliament for Kelang, for giving your opinion and also information about this particular motion. And now, the debaters, we also have with us Yang Berhormat Dr. Kelvin Yee, Member of Parliament for Bandar Kuching, Sarawak constituency, who has great insights actually on this topic, but unfortunately could not be with us today. But he has shared with us his statements that we will play now. Please welcome YB Dr. Kelvin Yee.
Hi friends, my name is Kelvin Yee. I'm a Member of Parliament for Bandar Kuching. I'm so sorry I cannot be there in person with you all because currently I'm speaking in a conference in Panama City, and I'm looking forward to hear your inputs, your arguments for and against this important issue. This issue is very close to my heart. It's not just because I'm a trained medical doctor. Importantly, I want to see a more comprehensive policy framework when it comes to this issue. Just to give you a bit of background on where I'm coming from. Currently, I'm also serving as the Special Advisor to the Minister of Health in the Ministry of Health. I was part of Medical Marijuana and Ketum Caucus that was formed in the last parliamentary term to look at more comprehensively holistic policies when it comes to regulation of Ketum in Malaysia as well as medical marijuana. I was of course the previous chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee for Health, Science and Innovation, and that is where I'm coming from. And today, as I said, our discussion on this important topic, I would like to first and foremost paint a background where I'm coming from, as well as stating my stand, as well as maybe even a policy direction on the steps that we can take for our government, especially when it comes to this important topic. We know that in 2020, the 63rd session of Commission of Narcotic Drugs of the United States, UN voted to drop cannabis and cannabis resin from Schedule 4 of the Single Convention on Narcotic Drugs. So this act actually meant that cannabis is no longer considered to be among those dangerous drugs category. So when we talk about cannabis or marijuana, we are actually specifically referring to cannabis products, which are made from, of course, dried flowers, leaves, stems, the seeds of cannabis, and so on and so forth. And in this context of discussion, we're looking at the medicinal and, of course, the health use of cannabis, which is important, and that is where we will look at evidence and the benefits of CBD, which is the active chemical in the cannabis plant, and not THC, which is psychoactive. So my argument, my stand on this matter is that we should look at having a proper regulatory framework for medical cannabis. I am not talking about liberalization or for pushing for recreational marijuana. I think what is more important is to set the framework of today's discussion on the medical side of marijuana, the medical cannabis framework. So we know that the use of medical marijuana as an alternative treatment to conventional medicine has been widely accepted in over 40 countries around the world. There was a study by the Institute of Public Health, Florida, A&M University, that such medical marijuana can be used treatment of chronic pain, MS or multiple sclerosis, inflammatory bowel disease, providing relief, and of course, providing better quality of life without the dependency on painkillers, which is another big issue, especially in America where the opioid crisis is. So, of course, the positive effects of taking medical marijuana includes, was not limited to reducing anxiety, was eliminating opioid use, as I mentioned, is improving sleep, addressing post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSDs, improving some pain management, also stimulating appetite, especially for cancer patients. So that's the health perspective. What is the economic perspective? We know that Thailand was before notoriously known having very strict laws on drug-related offences. However, in 2018, Thailand became the first country in Southeast Asia to legalize the use of cannabis for medicinal purposes. So in January 2002, they took another strong step by delisting cannabis with THC, which is the main psychoactive component that induces that high feeling levels to below 0.2%. So technically, which means that like Thailand legalized the recreational use of cannabis within this range. So we know what is the reason why they do that, because the economic impact. Thailand was hit bad by the global pandemic, and in order to jumpstart the economy, they're looking at using this and expecting to this policy to attract up to almost 30 million tourists to come into Thailand just for these purposes, and this has the potential to be worth about 424 million USD by the year 2024. And the fact of this is Thailand's not the only one. Lebanon is also using this as a potential to be the largest importer of cannabis, which can bring in an estimate of USD 1 billion ringgit. They only use this, of course, to rejuvenate what is currently the alien economy, suffering from, of course, the pandemic and, of course, shortages of currency in their country. So the myth that I think we need to debunk on medical cannabis is that it is very, very addictive. So it's actually, the fact is that only 9% of first-time cannabis users will use it again compared to other drugs. Alcohol 15%, cocaine 17%, heroin 23%, nicotine on our cigarettes 32%. Secondly, due to the long life of THC, cannabis users will require less dosage in 24-48 hours interval, in contrast to half-life of nicotine, which is only 2 hours. So which means nicotine users need to repeatedly dose of it to get that high compared to cannabis. Furthermore, physical symptoms related to cannabis addiction are less apparent in comparison to other, of course, central nervous system depressants such as alcohol or benzodiazepines. So, with that said, I'm not saying that it is totally not addictive. I'm not saying that it is totally safe. But the fact is, there is even an argument in Malaysia that are we allowing this issue again, allowing smoking marijuana in view of our tobacco program in Malaysia. I mean, argument against legalization of marijuana is on its impact on smoking, the act of smoking itself on the body. But you see, in our country, about 90% of lung cancer patients are smokers. So the question is this, based on the question is if 90% are already causing lung diseases, why are we allowing another form of smoking? But according to a joint calibration study by University of California, San Francisco and University of Alabama, they found that low to moderate use of marijuana is less harmful to users' lungs when compared to exposure to tobacco. It was found that airflow rate inside the lungs increased rather than decreased when smoking tobacco. That said, as I stated in the initial part, my arguments focus on medical marijuana, not recreational, where it's available to the wide public. Thus, this argument does not apply as we are only looking at administering it and its medicinal properties to a selected and highly controlled group of people. So, are we ready in Malaysia? So, a study of a cross-sectional study conducted in the year 2021 among 462 adults aged 18 years and above in Selangor. So, the caveat is Selangor is an urban setting. Of course, results may vary in if we do it in Kelantan or Terengganu. So, in that result, basically half of the respondents in the study, 64.7%, shows acceptance to decriminalization of medical marijuana in Malaysia. So there's some form of appetite on this matter by the general public. So when it comes to policy making, this is important as we need to look at the politics of policies as well. So you see, just because all these arguments may seem attractive and the number seems tempting, but jumping into it without safeguard is not only careless but irresponsible. So lessons have to be learned from Thailand that in my view went way too far ahead to liberalize it and thus now face some unintended consequences, and it's tough for them to back the handbrake. So for any policy to be properly implemented, especially something so controversial as this, is for it, it has to be progressively implemented and more importantly monitored all along the way. That is why my recommendations, number one, to demand legalization directly without sufficient domestic clinical trials may be too big a step. I will first propose the conditional decriminalization of cannabis for research purposes by local universities to get local data on its effectiveness and possible usage on our local demographic population. It's difficult for universities even to obtain a sample for testing and trials due to it being under DDA and the bureaucracy that comes with it. So that's the first step. And once we have sufficient local data to complement international data, it is much easier to justify the next step, which is number one, setting up a designated act or law to legalize and decriminalize medical marijuana, and of course, Ketum. This has to be comprehensive, it's properly stated its regulation mechanism, and that would set even a mandatory clause within the Act where the impact of the Act and its implementation is monitored and its report is transparently tabled in Parliament periodically. Next step, of course, is to regulate and allow cultivation. Talking about industrial hemp with proper regulations, licensing, control amount of seedlings, cross produce, and so on and so forth. So with this, it will ensure the creation of new diversified income stream with a scope of our own local industry, especially healthcare, pharmaceuticals, medical tourism, and so on and so forth. Next, of course, the decriminalization of cannabis for medical use only. This, of course, enables us to tap into the estimated 20.73 billion USD global market, which will help boost our country's revenue post COVID-19. And this is, of course, including smoothing, making efficient the process of importation, distribution of cannabis products for medicinal purposes, which currently is actually permissible under the DDA, but very, very cumbersome. So this has to be very heavily regulated, with products must be registered under DCA. The wholesale products that can be carried by licensed importers and sellers, respectively. So in order for GPs and medical practitioners to administer, they must be constantly trained on the proper usage and its proper indication and proper prescriptions. Their licensing must be renewed on a constant basis, maybe even annually or 2 years once. And of course, number 5, regular periodic review based on science and data. Law has to be reviewed on a periodic basis, and if there is evidence of its ineffectiveness or its unintended consequences, it has to be changed, it has to be made better, or if needed, and if it's good and the data and the science point clearly at it, we should proceed and of course make it better. So that is my pitch, and I hope it gives a better picture and it gives some arguments in the discussion. Thank you so much. I hope to see you all.
Thank you very much, YB, Dr. Kelvin Yee, for your great and powerful insights on this particular topic. Dear debaters, before we proceed, can we just give a round of applause for YB Wong Suchi and also YB Dr. Kelvin for their insights and sharing session. Yes. All right, dear debaters. Yes, thank you, debaters. So now, dear debaters, we are moving towards the Q&A session. So it is a normal thing in a debate. This debate will not be complete without intrusion, without arguments, without exchanging notes and also opinions. So that is why we have come to the question and answer session. So now I am opening the floor for Q&A session between the debaters. You only have 1 minute to ask your question towards your opponent, and the opponent has only 1 minute to answer the question that was directed to you. So apart from questions, you can also give comments, or perhaps you want to ask your questions to the politicians that we have today. All right, so if you want to ask your questions or give your comment, you can just stand up or wave towards me, and I will call out your respective name. So I declare open the floor. All right, now I see Mr. Matthew Pua from the government side from Team A. Please, Mr. Matthew.
Okay, hi, yes. I have a few questions to multiple of you, so maybe you can find one representative to answer. Because I've summarized all your points, and some of you don't want it totally, some of you say it's not the right time. So I think this topic is more to laws to legalize cannabis. So it's on the route to legalize cannabis. And as a lot of you have said that the laws here are not so, you all are very scared of immediately legalizing it. But I think that the YBs here would be clearer that before a law is passed, it has to be passed through a select committee. So I think your worries would be less because the laws will be scrutinized in the select committee. So I think that the opposition would agree with me that it may not be the right time now, but it will be on the path to legalize cannabis later on. What do you guys think?
So this is an open question, right, Matthew? So perhaps the opposition would like to respond. So I see Amir Hazim is standing. Amir, please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and thank you for the question. I think the answer to that concern of yours actually have been answered by yourself as well. That's why I think most of us in the opposition is trying to say that we disagree with the motion of legalizing medical cannabis as of today. Because we're not scared, we're just worried that if we made a premature move in legalizing cannabis, then it would cause severe implications in the near future. And that is why we have to scrutinize every detail, we have to make every evaluation that we can to ensure that these particular complications or even adverse consequences in the future to be minimized. And I'm totally aware of the fact that, you know, the laws have to go through parliamentary select committee and whatnot. And that is why, again, there needs to be a really thorough and complete scrutiny as well as assessment, as I have reiterated and repeated, to ensure that the proposed laws are to actually solve this particular issue in terms of the demerits that may occur in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amir Hazim. Now I see Mr. Damon Go is waving and standing. So, Damon, from the opposition, what is your opinion or comment?
All right, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you to all the debaters today, either from Team A or Team B. We have listened to all your arguments and your comments, and now it is my time to give some comments. So we have heard from all the speakers from the Team A, which is the government team. They have listed all the potential benefits for medical and economical benefits that can be brought by legalizing medical cannabis. However, they fail to give us a framework on how to implement this, and that is why we from the opposition team proposed that we should first decriminalize it before we even think of legalizing medical cannabis. And why would I say so? Let us quote what was mentioned by YB Wong Shu Chi. She mentioned that many of the people in her generation and maybe in all other generations of Malaysians, many people are brainwashed that cannabis can be harmful, and that is why we need to invest in decriminalization so that money saved from the criminal justice system and the police force can be used to invest in improving social acceptance and fund intervention programs for abuse alongside with decriminalization before we think of legalizing it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Damon, for your comment. So I believe I will give this opportunity for the government representatives to respond. First, I will give the floor to Muhammad, 1 minute, and after that, Gautam, 1 minute.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you for the question, Damon. Yeah. So he mentioned about the framework. Yes, for me that is very good question. Now I'm going to explain to you what is our framework or our solution for that. Yes, we are also concerned about the abuse, about the wrongly use about cannabis. So our way right now, our solution right now is first we need to have a great framework. First, we need to educate our doctors. That is very important. We educate our doctors, make our researchers more easily to do research. When we do that, doctor will be know when to prescribe, when to not prescribe. By doing this thing, it is actually will make the people will take cannabis in the right way. Because some people they think that they need cannabis, but they actually don't need cannabis. But because today government does not provide doctors that know about cannabis, so they go to the black market and so on. So that's why we need to educate our doctors so that when people think that they need cannabis, they thought that they need cannabis, when they go to the doctor, they can advise or prescribe it correctly. So that is my framework that you asked. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad Basri. And now I want to invite Mr. Gautam, who was standing just now. 1 minute for you, Gautam from Team A.
All right. Thank you, moderator, and all the members of the floor. So I have several questions, so I'm going to be a bit quick. So the first speaker, I would like to ask the comment saying that, Arisa, so you said that painkillers already exist. Yes, true. But then there is new problems arising in the era of globalization, which means we need new solutions, which is why we need drugs. All medicines are drugs. So we have to take note of that. So which means the dose makes the poison. So excessive use of drugs may cause problems. So all the painkillers that have already exist in this world, so it's kind of irrelevant because we need new solutions to new problems, and all the drugs do have side effects. So, and you also mentioned about manpower. We can introduce new opportunities. There are a lot of people who are jobless in Malaysia. By doing this, so we can provide new job opportunities, fund research and development in our country, and of course improve our political stance of our country. That's my take. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gautam. Perhaps Arisa from Team B, the opposition, would like to respond. 1 minute.
Wait. Hello? Okay. So, as my response, first of all, yes, I'm very much aware that all drugs have side effects, but the issue right now is that the other drugs that I've mentioned before, painkillers, the analgesics.
Arisa, your voice is breaking.
And it's not different research groups, you know, like is that it's only these small. Yeah.
Yeah, your voice is breaking.
Okay, wait, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Can you hear me better now? Okay. Well,
Arisa, please, a moment. I think you need to do something with your technical issues. But I'll ask another member of opposition who maybe can help you in answering the question. Ms. Anor Ufaira from the opposition, from Team B. I see her standing just now.
Okay, hi, hello, sorry. I'm just want to ask question. I'm sorry. Hello, Miss Hilda?
Yes, you can proceed. You can proceed.
Can I ask question, but it will not answer the question for Arisa.
Oh, it's okay. You can just ask your question first.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good afternoon to the esteemed members of the Assembly, honorable guests, government, and my team. Alright, my question is direct to government, especially to Ms. Nick Sarah. You mentioned that legalizing cannabis will strengthen our economy. However, my question is, how will the government handle the extra costs of healthcare that may arise from cannabis use? Are there any specific plans in place to address the increased medical expenses? And how will the government ensure the availability of sufficient resources to address health issues related to cannabis? Alright, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. This question is for Sarah. Yes, Sarah, if you have any response to that question just now. Okay, perhaps Sarah is having some technical issues as well. Okay, all right. I would like to invite Mr. Fatah Aswadi. Perhaps you have any response to that question by Anur.
Hello, good evening, everyone. So I would like to respond the question from Miss Anur. So regarding about our plan, how we want to support the plan to support regarding the cost when we try to legalize the cannabis in medical field. For example, when we started to legalize the cannabis, actually it it is proposed to get along all the things in our Malaysia. For example, when we started to legalize the cannabis in the medical field, actually we will step forward to try to make cannabis and we don't have to import from other countries. So that's we can try to minimize the cost. That means in our regulation, we can plant the cannabis by the certain sources, and we can decrease the cost of the cannabis costing. That's all from me.
Thank you, Fatah. I think just now I saw Daniel Iskandar was trying to say something. Perhaps he would like to answer Gautam's question, maybe?
Yes, actually, I was trying to gain your attention to answer for Arisa as well as myself. All right. So to answer your question, first of all, I would like to note what one of the speakers from the opposition said. We do not fear. We have a concern. The difference is fear is an emotional charge to avoid or run away from something. Concern encourages us to act, to take action. Now, we on the opposition side are encouraging further research and also decriminalization. Okay, we're not saying that we're against this. We're saying we oppose this as of right now. Okay, why we say this is because we have existing acts. We have acts that put laws that put drugs in a very, very bad place, and for good reason. Drugs such as cannabis with effects that are as strong as cannabis. We have listed multiple alternatives that has less to no side effects as compared to opioids with the same benefits. Why are we pushing so hard for substance when psychology.com, National Institute of Health of the United States, World Health Organization, University of Iowa, the CDC have all concluded that it has a bigger drawback than it does a contributing factor? Thank you, Speaker.
Daniel, just a friendly reminder, your time is up. So do you have any question?
Yes, my question was, why are we pushing so hard for this drug specifically when we have alternatives and we have multiple research institutes that say otherwise as compared to its benefits?
Is this an open question to any member of government or specific to anyone?
I would like to direct this question to Mr. Muhammad bin Basri.
Okay, Muhammad. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So for me, what are you talking about? First, you talk about you want our researcher to have a further research. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what we're fighting for. Do you know, our researcher today, there are so many of our researchers complain that they cannot do research well because the law prohibits cannabis. So there are many bureaucracies that they need to face. For example, we have Dr. Nur Azaya. I think you need to research and study more. You search this name. This is the name from National Poison Center. He complained that he cannot do a lot of research. He's from USM. Also, we have Prof. Aisha. There are a lot of other names that complain that they cannot do research. So also he mentioned about cannabis drug is actually already in the right place. Ladies and gentlemen, people use cannabis for medical purposes. He will got death penalty. Ladies and gentlemen, think about it. Is this just? I think I would like to ask to him question back, then Iskandar. Do you think it's unjust to we punish people for just using medical cannabis for medical purposes and we give them death penalty? Is that justice? That's my question. Thank you very much. That's all.
It's like throwing the ball game. So the question back to Iskandar. So Iskandar, perhaps a few words about that.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, moderator. Like we said, we are trying to decriminalize, not legalize. The difference between the two, decriminalization puts them under a microscope. What you are trying to do is legalize, making this a public access, giving people the freedom to purchase, to study, to do whatever they so please with medical cannabis. Now, the term medical cannabis can be thrown around in a definitive argument. It can be curing depression or curing my late night studies. Okay, it's not definitive. What we are trying to do is put cannabis through a microscope in order for our country to move forward and not just chase the tails of advanced and developed countries. Examples such as Australia, Canada, Switzerland, Norway, all of these are developed countries with functioning legal systems with a very, very strong medical background. So we are not in the same place. We cannot just simply chase tails just so we can look advanced, people.
All right, thank you, Iskandar. Your time is up. I think the discussion is going to be very interesting. The debate is getting hotter. Well, the debate is. So I think I've seen one Husna has been waving to me for quite some time. Husna from Team A, the government side. Please, Husna. One Husna from the government side.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Please
okay.
proceed.
All right. If I'm lagging, please tell me, all right? Okay.
Sure.
I have a question for the opposition side. I think the motion is about medicinal marijuana and who is affected by this medical industry, mostly the patient. So I think people have not been focusing on the patient and evolving of medicines, because what are the use of technology and medicine if we are not evolving it? So for the opposition side, you spoke about we should think about what does it bring to the for the medical industry. All right. So what do you think about evolving in the medicine, taking new things, taking new advanced technology such as marijuana for patients such as people who have PTSD, Parkinson, Alzheimer? Aren't we supposed to be focusing on them rather than decriminalizing and all the things? Because medicine is about evolving. So that's all. What do you think about evolving? That's all. Sorry.
Thank you, one Husna from Team A, the opposition. I think as a speaker, I want to make it a bit interesting. So Husna from the government, perhaps Husna from the opposition can respond to that. No, Husna Zulfa, Team B.
Hello, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, yes, very well. Please
Okay,
proceed.
sorry. The question from Husna from Team A mentioned about the involvement of medicine by using marijuana. What I want to say is that it is not that we don't want to do any advancement. However, we're talking about marijuana. We're talking about marijuana. We do know that Malaysia already have a drug act on it. We don't want, like my members already mentioned, we did it we it is not like we don't want it. We concerned about it because you have issues about it. Rather than we using something that has concern about legality, why can't we use something that already we use medicine that already gone clinical trials. We also know that we don't have done a lot of research on cannabis. We do know that cannabis has cannabis has certain components that may have counter effect reciprocated with the main component you're talking about. And also, we need a lot of documentation, we need a lot of work, we need to do a lot of act to legalize this thing. So it is not possible for us to legalize it just like that.
All right. Thank you
I
very
think that's
much,
all.
Husna. Husna versus
Can I ask a
Husna.
question? Can I ask a question?
You want to ask question? Yes, 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 please.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you, moderator. I have question for Speaker Matthew and Speaker Sarah. Speaker Matthew mentioned about psychotherapy by using medical marijuana. However, spoke about the usage of CBD. Don't you know that in medical marijuana we have ratio 1:1 of CBD and THC? So do you really think that CBD can counter effect of THC? Why can't we just use a basic psychotherapy like CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, rather than we use a drug therapy that we don't know the legality of the drug? For Miss Sarah mentioned about it is possible not to have drug abuse if we have a strict regulation. However, in Malaysia, we already have Section 6 of Dangerous Drug Act 1952 talking about the drug. If we still have that kind of strict law, why still drug abuse occur? Can you answer me? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Husna, for your comment as well as for your questions. So now I'm giving the floor 1 minute to Matthew and another 1 minute for Sarah because these questions posted to two different speakers. Matthew from Team A, please.
Thank you, Husna, for the question. I would like to put on record that there are still many trials going on, and psychotherapy, PTSD are just one of the very few trials that have been studied much more compared to the others. So I think that it still needs some work. And talking about the decriminalization of cannabis, actually decriminalization will cause more abuse than legalizing it, because legalizing it is not for everyone to use. It's just for the hospitals to be allowed to use it under strict circumstances. Not everyone is going to be available to everyone. And for example, cough mixture. Cough mixture also has addictive properties. Why don't we ban cough mixture? Because a lot of people use cough mixture for abuse. And this would be one of the questions I would throw back to the opposition. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Matthew. But before that, perhaps you want to give the floor to Nick Sarah. Sarah, if you have any response to the question from Team B just now? Or you still have a lines problem? It seems like that. So it's okay. I'm giving the floor to the backbencher in Team A, Gautam, perhaps?
Thank you, moderator. So I hope I'm audible. And this question is directly to the fifth speaker, Daniel Iskandar. So you were saying about countries like a developed country like Australia and some other countries, which is already developed. What I'm talking about right now, let's not take it further. Let's bring it down and to our Southeast Asia country, our neighboring country, Thailand. Okay, their GDP have increased to 505 billion in GDP, whereas Malaysia is at the 300 billion threshold. So somehow, seems like the opposition is leaning towards supporting and legalizing cannabis because it's like you just have the worry but not the exact direct opposing of the laws to legalize cannabis. But the thing is that countries like Thailand could do it, and they are experiencing economical growth, which is a really gradual increase of economical growth. Why can't Malaysia do it? Are we incompetent? I think it is possible to do it, and when there is a will, there is a way. Thank you.
Thank you. This question is for who? Gautam?
This question, I would like to open it to the floor.
To open to the floor. It's okay. All right. Can we keep that question first? Because I think just now Nick Sarah was standing. Perhaps she wanted to say something. Nick Sarah, is everything okay? We have one unanswered question from Nurul Husna Zulfa from Team B. Sarah? All right. Yes, Sarah. Please unmute yourself. I can see that you're standing, but your voice is not there. Okay, it's okay. But I think Muhammad, the speaker next to Sarah, Muhammad from Team A, do you want to answer that questions on behalf of Sarah?
Yes,
or do you want to
I can have.
Yes, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So I will answer the Nurul Husna question. If we look at his statement last, he said that one of the things that he said is narrative. He played the narrative like wasting money, wasting energy. This is also mentioned by Arisa Hanafi. Also, he mentioned the same thing. For me,
by the way,
sorry,
she.
Okay. If she want to play this kind of narrative, for example, if we look, we take example smoking. When the government in Malaysia want to stop people from smoke, they do a lot of things. But society critique, what they say is, they say, why you want to stop people from smoking? Because if we let them smoke, we can take tax from them. 2 months ago, we collect 3.2 billion from tax smoker. But that thing will happen if only we look at the one aspect. So that's why we need to look in money aspect. In this issue, in the smoking issue, do you know the government in Malaysia need to spend 6.2 billion just for cure people that have illnesses that cause from smoke. So same goes to cannabis. We actually cannot only look at one side. We actually can do a lot of things. We can look at many aspects, which is about cannabis. When we talk about cannabis, first we can learn from other countries. That actually can reduce our cost. That answer your question. We can take their research, learn from their research. We can actually reduce our cost. So there are so many other things that we can do when it comes to this thing, and also we can help a lot of people. That's why I encourage us to look in money aspect. We can help a lot of people that have disease with that need cannabis. So for answer that your question, that's all from me. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Muhammad. So before we want to open the floor for many more questions in a very limited time, I just want to leave the questions from Gautam unanswered. So any members from the opposition who would like to answer that question, I think I will give the floor to Alia Christina, since she hasn't answered any question yet. Alia, do you want to answer Gautam's question? Alia Christina?
Comment for Muhammad's one first. Can I do that?
I want to answer Gautam's question first. It's okay. After this is you. Derman, are you going to answer Gautam's question first?
Yes, I am going to answer his question.
Okay, please.
So can I proceed? All right. Thank you, Mr. Gautam, for your question. You have mentioned that if Thailand can do it and they're gaining economical benefits, and why Malaysia is not doing it, are we incompetent? My answer is that, do you know why Thailand approved and legalized the use of cannabis? It is because the government of that time legalized it because of their benefits in their election. They want to gain popular votes, and they have not done enough research on the potential harm, and they just do it. They do not have proper proper enforcement of the law, and that is why you see all sorts of illegal dispensers sprung out all around Thailand. Do you want Malaysia to become a country like this? Even now, where we have not legalized cannabis, cannabis is already the #1 drug in Malaysia. And that is why we are saying that we decriminalize it, we reduce people's stigma, we also invest in intervention programs if there is abuse. And that is why our side is better. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Damon. I think I've seen Amir Hazim have been standing for quite some time. Amir, do you want to pose any questions?
Yes, indeed, Mr. Moderator. I would like just to ask everyone from the government side, basically every answer that you have given, especially from Muhammad, and then we do have also some concerns that were brought by Nick Sarah in regards to proper research that needs to be done, and then Nick Sarah also mentioned about the regulatory framework that needs to be produced as well. That is why I think in the end of the day, the opposition side is to disagree with the motion as of today. The parameters that we are setting is to disregard the motion as of today, not the future. And I think everyone is answering, or rather everyone is on the same page right here. I think from the government side as well, is the fact that we need to make some preparations in order for us to legalize cannabis in terms of its medical usage. And in regards to the economic sector, I would like to also pose the questions to the government. When they said that it boosts the economic growth of a particular country, do you are aware, especially in Thailand, there are also existence of black economy, and that is why we as the opposition are trying to say that we need to make preparations first, research first, before we legalize medical cannabis, legalize cannabis for medical usage. And in the end of the day, the motion for today needs to be disregarded. Well, we can look upon it in the future, but as of today, that is the parameter we are setting. It should not be passed. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Amir Hazim. Long questions. I think 2 questions are from Amir Hazim, since he has been standing for quite some time, so he had a lot of questions in his mind. So maybe I want to give opportunities to 2 government speakers from Team A. 1 minute, Fatah, you start first, and after that, Gautam.
Okay, thank you for choosing me. So I would like to answer the question from Amir Hazim. So he talked about, we would like to discuss the motion regarding today parameter. Yes, exactly. Do you agree that when we start to agree and when we start to legalize this kind of things, of this kind of cannabis for medical, it is the first step for us to enter the new world of Malaysia. So why not? We have to take the action to try to legalize, because when we legalize the cannabis for medical field is the first step, and is the door for us to enter the new world of economy. So how long it will take if everyone to try to legalize? That means the opposition does not try to put the parameter. What is the sign of we are already prepared or not? So we only can take the action, and we only know what is the status of our Malaysian if we try to legalize right now on this day. Thank you.
Thank you, Fatah Aswadi. As promised, perhaps one of the backbenchers, Gautam, backbenchers of the government side, do you have any words to that? Because I've seen you standing as well just now.
Yes, I would like to answer the question that was thrown by the government. Okay, you were saying that there are black markets in Thailand, and the marijuana was introduced just to be popular in votes. What about other countries? So what about other Scandinavian countries which have decriminalized and legalized cannabis for medical use? But the thing is that right now, Thailand, no matter wherever in the world, right now, if you see, there are black markets, okay, and it may surface or not. The only way that we can tackle this problem is by regulating, moderating, controlling the in and outs, the imports and exports of cannabis for medical use. We are reducing the margin to medical use, which means if we want to trace back the usage of cannabis, we can refer to medical field, and let's, for example, like government hospitals. So the rise of us doing and taking a step forward in researching cannabis for medical use isn't an alarming issue, but it's more of like a step that we need to take. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gautam. I think I would like to invite someone from the opposition who has been standing for quite some time but hasn't give any opinion or questions yet. Mr. T. Kawan.
All right,
Yes,
thank you,
Mr. T.
moderator.
Yes.
Yep. Let's go back to this topic. This house would or would not legalize cannabis for medical use. Today, the government say that we have sufficient evidence to prove that cannabis is good for people. But do we have sufficient clinical evidence? I accept that there's a trend in other nations to legalize cannabis, but the evidence at this stage is still very mixed. We are not ready yet. We need more time. I would like to ask if the government has sufficient clinical evidence on this. Do we have enough clinical trials to prove that cannabis is safe to use? Have we started to do clinical trials already? Say, for example, the COVID vaccines. They have to undergo a lot of clinical trials before mass administration. Same for cannabis. Come on, government, without sufficient clinical evidence, we cannot pass this bill. We need time. We don't legalize in a rush. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. T. Dear debaters, before I open to the governments for the answer session, I just want to give you a friendly reminder that I'm trying to be as neutral as I can be so that everyone has the opportunity to talk. This opportunity is, of course, is much more given to the backbenchers who haven't presented their problem of statement just now. But perhaps for this question from T, Matthew would like to answer. Matthew, please.
Yes, thank you for the question. You've said that we don't have enough clinical trials. Yeah, our main point here is not to legalize now, open for everybody to use. We are going to legalize it in stages. That's why it's called laws to legalize, not law to legalize. And if we in Malaysia, we legalize it for research properties, Malaysia can open the door to cooperation with other countries which are more advanced, way advanced in this sector. For example, the COVID vaccine. The COVID vaccine, it only took about 1 year or so to pass. But how do you determine are there enough clinical trials to pass this COVID vaccine? It only took 1 year for the Pfizer, I think, to come out and Sinovac to come out. How do you determine if there are any enough clinical trials if you don't open the door to other research? So I think that the opposition should be in the position as ours to slowly implement the laws to legalize cannabis. Thank you.
Thank you for your argument, Matthew from Team A, the government side. I think just now at the beginning, I've promised Alia Christina. Perhaps Alia from the opposition, Team B, would like to give any comments or questions, please. Nur Alia Christina.
So much, Mr. Moderator. So, as like from the debate, from the discussion just now, what I can hear from the government side is that they are just giving us like the evidence, basically what cannabis can do, and then they're questioning whether decriminalization is the right thing or not. And so they did not also give us like what is the framework of their point of legalizing medical marijuana. And so like as Mr. Muhammad, he somehow also distinguish between smoking and also medical marijuana, right? But you know that smoking and medical marijuana is two different things. Smoking is not a drug, and medical marijuana is a drug. So I don't see why you have to put that in. And this medical cannabis drug is like way more dangerous if you do not have a proper framework to actually legalize it, since we are not really just yet. And also, the government side has mentioned that actually we do not have a lot of researchers in Malaysia, but that's not true, because actually we do have a lot of researchers who do not have some job opportunities in Malaysia. So that's something that the government has to consider. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Alia. Mr. Muhammad, since his name was mentioned, Muhammad, please, if you have any comment or answer about that.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I don't know what's wrong with the opposition. They still want to play narrative, the uncertainty proof. Now, I will read to you the proof from the medical doctors in Malaysia. We have Dr. Kamal Azman, public health expert, CEO Medical, as I mentioned before. We have Prof. Dr. Aisha Abdul Latif, Dr. Nur Azalia. All these names already recognize or expose the benefit of cannabis. And also, if you want the clinical proof, I will give you, like I said before, WHO already recognized and suggested, I repeat, suggested us, there are 40 experts from WHO already suggested us to use cannabis. And also, he mentioned about framework. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, I already mentioned earlier our framework. We want to educate our doctor. We want to make organization that can control the cannabis to check frequently in hospital. That is our framework. You don't listen to my question. That's the problem. To my answer, that's the problem. So you talk about smoking. The difference is, yes, I agree that's the different issue, but still we can learn from that issue. The government, our today government, want to fight against smoker to stop people from smoke. We can take the value from that, even that is a different issue. So that's my question for Nur Alia Christina and question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I've been reminded by the organizer that I should end this Q&A session by 4:17 or 4:18. So I know you have a lot of questions with you, but perhaps to be fair, as the speaker of this session today, I would like to give this opportunity to one speaker from the government as well as one speaker from the opposition to do the closing remarks in order to influence the audience of this debate session today. So for this reason, for the government side, I'm choosing Mr. Fatah Aswadi to give the closing remarks, since he has been waving and he is also the backbencher. So Fatah Aswadi, 1 minute for you. And for the opposition side, I think I see Mr. Amir Hazim. So Mr. Amir Hazim will be representing from the opposition side to do the closing remarks. So we will start with Fatah first from the government, please.
Assalamualaikum and greeting for everyone. So for the closure, I would like to emphasize, or I would like to make a short list about what is the opposition try to bring in this kind of our flaw. So the opposition try to tell us about we should not to legalize the cannabis in our Malaysia, is we are still in developed country. We can get a lot of bad effects such as addiction and so on. But they forgot that actually when we try to bring the term of legalize, which means we already have to make a regulation about the cannabis. That means we already encountered the problem of the side effect of the cannabis in the Malaysian. So I think the kebimbangan or their concern about that thing we should left behind. So I would like to strengthen our motion for today. This house believes that we should legalize cannabis for medical use in Malaysia right now, because we want to be a good country for our Malaysian. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fatah, for the closing remarks representing the government, Team A. And now, for the closer, I would like to invite Mr. Amir Hazim, representing the opposition, to give your closing remarks in order to convince the House. Please welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. In conclusion of what the opposition stance is, I think if you infer throughout this particular debate, the key speakers of each government side have failed to mention, nor once they have actually explained about the time frame of this particular stance. And that is why the opposition would like to reiterate and enunciate the fact that the motion needs to be disregarded as of today. That is the parameter that we are trying to set. That is the parameter that the government should be made aware of, because extensive research needs to be made in the first place in ensuring that if cannabis is actually to be legalized, then adverse implications can be minimized. And also the fact that the speakers as well from the government side have contradicted themselves when they said that research from outside is a lot and there was no frameworks but only concepts. This further shows that in the end of the day, this should be the cogent and fortified reason why this particular motion should be disbanded or rather disregarded totally as of today. Thank you. And at the end of the day as well, I would like to enunciate the fact that If we want to take a step forward, it needs to be the right first step, as I have concluded in my remarks in my key speech. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Amar Hazim, representing the opposition side. The debaters, we have come to the end of this debate session. If you want to know, this is the longest question and answer session, the most active one, the most intriguing one. So I think it's about 45 minutes we will spend for this Q&A session. So please give a big round of applause for all of you, the debaters. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much, the debaters. I know this is the relevance and the significance of GenZ the Podium, giving chances to the representatives of the youth generation, of the current generation, to improve the policy and lawmaking process for the betterment of the country of Malaysia. So for these reasons, the organizer have spent their assets and also spent their ideas in making the reality of this particular The Podium program. So to conclude this event today, I would like to end with a quote from the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Mr. Winston Churchill, saying that, "What is our aim? Our aim is victory. Victory at all costs. No matter how hard and long the journey may be, for without victory, there is no survival. You, the youth, are the nation's asset, hope, and also the future. You are going to lead the country to the victory and eventually lead the country to the survival. That is for our country, for our beloved Malaysia." So with that, I thank you all very much. I pass the floor back to Shilda Ismail. Thank you and salam hormat.
Wow. Thank you so much to our amazing debaters today. I watched the section. It was a constructive discourse, and I see the ability to all of you to articulate your viewpoints, and has also truly captivated and enlightened us all. Also, thank you to Mr. Ika to somehow moderate, to strike a balance, to maintain the order, and also to stimulate engaging conversation. I would like to also say thank you to the panel of politicians for contributing your opinions. Great job, everyone. Okay, moving on. The moment we all have been anticipating has come. Who's the best debater for this session? With that, I would like to invite Iman Rizwan, event producer for Youth Parliamentary Debate, to announce the winner. Silakan.
Sorry, I was quite glitching, but it's nice to see you all again in the metaverse. Thank you so much, Shilda Ismail, and thank you so much, Ika Daniel. You guys have done a really, really great job. I was amazed, and I was like on top of my feet, wondering what are you guys going to report against each other. So give you guys a huge clap for being here and for debating. Okay, the moment we all have been waiting for. Who's the best debater for the second session of the GenZ the Podium? For your information, the winner of today will win RM 1,000 ringgit Malaysia worth of cash, and also a lifetime subscription from Malaysia Kini that is worth 5,000 ringgit. So without further ado, I am proudly going to announce who's the best debater for today. It's none other than Daniel Iskandar from Team B. Congratulations! Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, guys. And it has been an honor to be with you today. My God, what a crowd, what a room. Thank you all, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for this amazing opportunity.
All right, congratulations, Dennis Kandar. And of course, you can clap all you want, dance away all the fun in this space. And I'm going to pass back to Shilda Ismail. Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations to Janet Iskandar. Remember, to all of you in the world of debating, winning isn't the only measure. So the ability to express your thoughts is also a winning skill. So let's just give a round of applause to each other. Let's press C now. All right. There you go. All right. Thank you also to Iman Rizwan. Congratulations to all of you, all our debaters for today. All right. For our viewers out there, you are still able to vote for your favorite statements by the debaters at the link mk.my/UndiGenZ for a month until 23rd July 2023. Next, we would like to kindly invite you to answer a survey that will be shared with you through email in the nearest time and stand a chance to win 100 ringgit Grab food voucher by answering the survey. So you just spend 5 minutes on it and you will actually win the voucher. Easy kan? So with that, thank you again to the viewers who are staying with us throughout the event, listening to our debates. So on behalf of the organizer, Kini Events, I would like to once again graciously thank you, collaborative partner International Republican Institute, supporting partner Kementerian Belia dan Sukan, soft skill training partner Malaysian Institute of Debate and Public Speaking MIDP, Metaverse partner Experiential Design Team EDT. So we also have co-partners such as Undi 18, Undi Sabah, the Risers, Institute for Research and Development of Policy, IRDP and MYADP, the Malaysian Hub, Majlis Belia Malaysia MBF, sikitlah, Persatuan Kebangsaan Pelajar Islam Malaysia PKPIM, IIUM Student Union, Gabungan Pelajar-Pelajar Melayu Semenanjung GPMS, Persatuan Mahasiswa Universiti Melaya, Angkatan Mahasiswa UM, Suara Siswa UM, and Taylor's University Student Council. Also, our debate has been also cross-posting through our media partners, which is Kini TV, Chili Sauce Media, Astro Awani, and Space. Once again, well done, debaters. So we are confident your talents will shine through and captivate us, leaving a lasting impression next. For your information, listen here, all the debaters here will receive a free Malaysia Kini subscription for 1 year worth 200 ringgit. Once again also, we would also like to apologize if there are any technical shortcomings may have occurred that may have affected your viewing or listening experience. With this, it's the end of our second episode of Gen Z at the Podium 2023. Good evening, and I hope to see you offline in real world in August. I'm Shilda Ismail, and goodbye. Signing off. Bye.
Alright, thank you everyone. Great job. Woo! Clap in real life. Woo! Thank you all the debaters. Good job team. Good job Kate. Good job FG. Woo! And congratulations Dennis Kandar. You guys nanti send your email. Yes. Send me your